Welcome back, everybody. It is time for our grand finals here. The whole weekend has culminated to Sanguine versus Team Project, the two North American teams. And Kresnik, Sanguine hasn't lost yet, but they have been pushed close a couple times.
Yeah, and we know that Project has the capability to do it. They're the only team, other than the amateur team Yeezy PogChamp in some of the Tier 2 tournaments, that have taken down Sanguine in the past, earlier in this season. But Sanguine have really evolved since then. I think Project have too, from how they looked earlier in this tournament, 6-0ing both Brazilian teams both combined. And Project, they're going to be coming into this matchup angry for sure against Sanguine.
Does it concern you at all that in the last set, the Project lost against 5 healers and 5 flanks? Do you think that is a knock on them coming into this set?
They lost against District 69. I think that's what it is more than anything. It was crazy comps, but it was a team that's been playing them. And if crazy comps is what knocks them down, then maybe Sanguine playing a similar thing most of the time with the triple DPS, Wadu liking Khan on solo tank. They have kind of very similar styles. Maybe now that we saw that they lose to those, maybe they can beat these consistent comps.
Yeah, could be. Sanguine is a team that might not surprise you necessarily with what they're picking all the time, but will just straight up outplay you the majority of the time once they load in with that style of composition. I mean, is that a disadvantage for them here, you think?
Possibly, but I think they're flexible enough within their boundaries that it doesn't hurt too much. I know we were talking before the games today about how yesterday Project were trying to ban out Gogurt, and you can't do that, really. He's flexible enough across what he wants to do, where being locked won't hurt them as long as they're still flexible in the roles of what they like to do.
Understandable. And so now that we've found the way to get Gogurt on comfort picks even when he's being targeted, I feel like Sanguine, or going up against Sanguine, is going to be at a little bit of a different look here for Team Project. And they've gotten one shot at it, and they got close. 3-2 is where they lost. But now it's time to see if they get revenge. No actual advantage here for Sanguine either. They're just straight up best of 5 in this set. So they've got to win 3 if they want to be the Summer Finals champion. Let's take a look at those maps here pretty soon, because I want to see exactly what we're going to be playing on first. It's Stone Keep to lead us off. Sanguine's banned Bright Marsh and Frog Isle, whereas Jaguar Falls and Fish Market banned by Project. The first map that jumps out at me here, Kresnik, that has not been banned is Bazaar.
Yeah, I hope we get to see it, because I really do love that map, but I think it actually can lend itself to Sanguine if they want to pick it later. I know this is for sure their pick, because they do love Stone Keep, but Bazaar, open, they can run their snipers, the backlines they like, and it also is good for the flanks too. Buck can jump over the walls and chip people with no midair inaccuracy. Could be great for them, but for now, we're on Stone Keep, a map Sanguine like. It's very comfortable for them. They can play on either side of the map with their composition, and their Inara and Eevee bans are going to be just as good here as anywhere else.
I feel like Io has not performed as well as we might have expected. We saw Cuss play her a couple times in that last set, and it didn't really do as much as I was really expecting. That could really change the whole dynamic of picks and bans, because Io has felt like a permaban up until this point.
And I wouldn't be shocked to see them still ban it with how good Sanguine have been with it, but if any team can let it through right now, I think it's Project, because they're the only team willing to play Dredge. Dredge is this hard counter to Io. Buy a level of Bulldozer 1, shoot broadside on point. Luna literally has no survival instincts and will just sit there and take that 3.5k damage, excuse me. If they can do that, one shot will take her down, and if that's what they're relying on to let the rest of the team get aggressive, you just cut that immediately. It could be a great counter pick for them.
Well, Io will still be the first pick here for Sanguine. They're not going to be too worried about that Dredge, at least at the very beginning here. Team Project, I imagine, will go to that pick, but do they feel like they need to do it now? Is there any threat that Sanguine will end up taking it away from them later on in the draft, I think, is the real question mark. But no Genos or Corvus, two of the healers we've seen a lot of. With Grover banned, Cuss going to that Ying selection, which seems to have picked up some steam, though might not be Cuss on the Ying instead, because Project has drafted 2 supports already in the Furia.
2 supports is definitely getting more popular as this tournament goes on, and this is a double global composition. As long as they have players that want to, or champions, excuse me, that want to get aggressive with that, with the Illusory Rift, with the Inflame, that can really take advantage of it, it's a great core. No matter what side of the map you play on, you can cover ground and get healed, and doesn't matter who you have, that's never going to be bad.
And Droxus there for Sanguine might be able to get into that back line and cause these healers some trouble, though. And now Bomb King, who's been played an awful lot, but maybe not quite as much success as we might have expected, locked in here for Sanguine as well. So both teams a little bit light on front line, though, as we saw in the last set. That doesn't mean a whole lot of anything because it's been that consistently. In fact, here we go. Team Project, through 3 picks, have picked 3 healers. And remember, they just played against District 69, who beat them with a very similar composition. But the Willow ban, I think, was kind of important for that composition to work. Do you feel like Sanguine can still fit a Willow in there?
I think so, but it is going to be someone a little bit off comfort. I would assume that would be Poison on it, but I'm sure Cool or Gogurt, one of them, probably Gogurt, would be able to make that work, and it'll help significantly. I don't even know if they need it, though. Having Bomb King against Grok and Grover, if they don't have Grover because it's banned, but having Bomb King against Grok helps a ton. The AoE damage, hitting everybody, spreading Cauterize, and destroying the totem, all of that combined, I think it's more than enough, and Sanguine agree, locking in 2 comfort picks in the end. Kinessa for Cool, and Con for Water.
Yeah, a lot of just staying at home here for Sanguine. They don't get baited, I think, by what Team Project is doing. And Project, thinking about sticking to the theme, at this point you may as well, right? And go with that Genos, which was a linchpin, I felt like, for District 69 performing well with this composition. But they decide to go with Inara. Maybe a little bit of a last-minute pivot. Do you feel like the Inara is better than the 5th healer could have been?
Hero's a pretty good Inara. Hero with 4 supports is probably going to be a little bit scarier, but that's a terrifying comp on the other side. And my biggest concern is, who's getting on Cool? Who's pressuring this Kinessa? This Kinessa is going to be doing whatever they want in the backline. No amount of healing, I think, can get through the burst damage that Cool not missing a headshot will bring.
And Cool looking calm, cool, and collected in the back of this game, I imagine. Who's going to get to him is right. Maybe the Grok bounce damage can cause him some problems, but as long as Cool's pretty isolated, I don't really see that happening either. Team Project looking to take a strat that worked against them and use it against Sanguine. Do you think it's enough to win Game 1?
This Grok is going to have to make his Tempest so good. This team is going to have to be speed boosted past everybody straight into this Kinessa, because if they're not, Cool is going to have a field day.
Sanguine and Team Project. Sanguine looking to complete the sweep and not drop a set here at the Summer Finals. Dave and Gore bringing you the final set of the Summer Finals.
Thank you very much, Aggro and Kresnik. It is Dolson and Goremizer and Gore. There is a lot on the line here for both of these teams. You know, bragging rights maybe up towards the top there, but the PPC Summer Final champion above all else. It is Sanguine and Team Project, both teams from NA, doing battle once again. And Project have brought us something interesting, and Cool will respond in kind. If nobody's going to check him, let's just rotate around the entire team.
The one thing I think that Project have going for them in this one is literally going to be the fact that this Inara should remain unkillable. She's already a healing sponge, and now she's got 4 people to be able to capitalize on that. You lose Gogurt and Cool early on here. I think Rock Monkey here is going to actually cause a lot of trouble for them. I think this combination of damage and healing they have, it's just going to make the core a little too difficult to break apart.
Right, we expect to see this do well somewhat early on here before those cauterizers really start to swing. Unfortunately, though, Poison plenty good at controlling that space on the backside. Shadow is actually the one on the Inara this game, worth mentioning, not Hero as we maybe expected. And with that, Sanguine is able to bully out Project from contesting on this mid. 81% for the blue side. A couple members of Project grouped up, trying to dash their way away, and it's Hero on the Furia who ends up going down, and that'll be point number 1 over to Sanguine.
I think that's going to be the essence of how they break apart Team Project, right? And it's going to be very awkward, but, I mean, admittedly, they have the stronger team comp as a whole here on Sanguine, so it should happen more often than not. The fact that this game started on what I would argue is a trip for them is going to cause a little bit of difference, but you have to pay attention to those cauterizes. It's still going to be solid healing. It's only 60% at max as they get it towards Tier 3, but even still, it's going to make it more difficult, specifically for Shadow, to be able to withstand a lot of this damage there on the Inara.
And I agree with, you know, maybe the biggest talking point here, and it's Cool on this Kinessa and how he's going to be dealt with. It almost seems like it's going to have to be a mispositioning from him, or what we're seeing here, where Project bowls over the rest of Sanguine, and then really it's just Cool left alive on the back, but the teleporter luckily mobile enough to keep him out. Tempest up to the high ground is gonna try to kill off Cool, and Rock Monkey is successful in doing so as the seismic crash up to the high ground there as well. Sanguine trying to force the issue, return some damage on this Team Project defense attempt, dash right back through. Hero has found the stun. Reversal back through onto Cuss Cutie, and the final shot is there for the Furia. Poison, though, through the King Bomb is going to look for the stun down on a Shadow, but the Inara plenty healthy enough to get out alive. All seems to be equal here, at least where we stand.
And mostly equal there in terms of the voting as well. 49 to 51, just very ever so slightly in favor of Project. And honestly, maybe because we saw this work earlier, the biggest thing about this draft and the thing that it has going for it, much like what we saw on Primarch in the last set, is that if all 5 of them are standing strong on Project, it's going to be damn near impossible to take them down in a team fight. But the minute you get rid of one, it's just like dominoes after that. They might be able to find some picks and retaliation, but they can't stand up as strong. They lose too much of the total damage and the total healing that actually keeps everyone alive, and it does start to fall apart.
This is where Poison can really start to hit his mark off around this side. And this Hero and Cuts Cutie, and you can see the sustain that they have, at least at the moment. It's hard for Poison to fully knock down even the squishiest targets here. Hero's gonna pop the Inflame. 10 seconds left. This might be the fight to decide the round, whether Sanguine go up 2-0 or we're tied at 1 going into the next mid-fight. Losing Rock Monkey, difficult for Team Project to swallow, but G-Bunny able to answer back with the kill of his own. This could be a big accursed arm. A lot of damage down onto Shadow, but Seismic Crash and some good healing keeps him alive. Stunned down is Gogurt. Good stun there from Hero, and a couple dashes out are going to keep Gogurt alive. The big difference maker, Goremizer, could be the respawns for Project, but it might not matter. It's a Tempest by Rock Monkey. Off to the side he goes, but the reinforcements just on the other side.
Ooh. And being able to find that kill, Gogurt with that final shot, almost dead, the reversal up in time. I think that was just well played by Sanguine, well calculated and timed for a lot of those abilities. Even losing Wadu in such an unfortunate position to be able to turn that around is incredible for them. And they force out a lot of comfort ults there for Project. I mean, no Illusory Rift, no Inflame from the Furia. Those two are typically win buttons in and of themselves. You hit that, and it should be able to be the team fight. That's damage, amp, movement speed, and healing if they're used together. Plus, you get the same things coming down from Rock Monkey, healing, movement speed if he uses the Tempest in line with it. There's a lot that stacks up and makes Project's team fight something ridiculous and to be feared. But right now, I mean, Cool's playing it far back. Gogurt's finding a lot of return kills and being able to use his reversal in face of a lot of this damage. And so far, Poison's just kind of chilling. Is the only way I can describe it on this Bomb King. I mean, he's having a good game. Hasn't had anything that's been like the most stellar thing, but I expect this King Bomb, at least this round, to make a big difference.
Well, Sanguine have some team fight ultimates of their own. An Overpower from Wadu connects early onto Hero. Cool snags the second kill of the mid-fight already. It's going to be a full-on domino sweep for Sanguine. One more punch into Shadow will get it done. Team Project now back and respawning almost as soon as it started, and you look at the ultimates that got used, Overpower, Headhunter, that's it. Still will be gone in a King Bomb waiting for Sanguine.
And I think the way that they're able to get this aggressive, like you said, the Begon available, and they're playing the right angle. Not only is this an area where you can get a kill with this ultimate, but it's also just the easiest way to, say, get away from the objective. You catch them around the corner, they have to come around, and you're going to be able to open it up, and they didn't even get to touch here if you're Project.
Well, Gogurt misses one shot but hits 3, and that spells death for Hero. This is where Poison can flourish as well. This is where you've seen the Bomb King and expect to continue to see him. Enough sustain. One final shot from Gogurt would have gotten it done over on the Cuss Cutie, and Poison is able to find it. A Poppy Bomb backward is going to try to buy some space between Poison and Shadow. And Luna's just going to keep the payload standing where it's at. Cool. Still left unchecked. It's a 15 streak on the Kinessa streak. Watch. Poison will shut him down for a double, though. And a triple kill for the Bomb King as the payload continues to roll forward. My goodness, Poison cannot be stopped.
And that's a little Hail Mary at the very end there. Just the long-range uphill throw for that bomb to connect. Still has the King Bomb, but that's going to be the Inflame coming up soon. Illusory Rift just now popped. A lot to keep Team Project in this, but Poison doesn't care.
Well, Poison is looking to win the game here. Did stunt down onto one. It's a Dread Serpent into the high ground. Baller Steve doing his best to sustain the Bomb King, but it's not enough here. The reinforcements through from Team Project, but it costs him all of the available ultimates at the time. So no surprise that Sanguine losing the fight here. This Project used most of their utility But it's a second win fight, Gore, that I think you have to be worried about. There's still 1 minute and 10 seconds left. Sanguine close to that overpower. Be gone. Not used yet. Still a fight to win for Sanguine.
And you didn't even get to kill everyone that you could. Finally taking down Wadu, getting rid of Cool. I think these staggers might make the biggest difference. You do cause a very big set ladder here for Sanguine in terms of respawning, although Gogurt doesn't seem to have gotten the memo. Did cause a little bit of distress on the other side. You get the Tempest, Dread Serpent's almost back up, and that's the problem. There's so many ults that charge back, not only fast on Team Project, but because they're so potent, they're almost at the point where they can once again just say, cool, we're going to hit E and we're going to win the fight because of it. Once they get the Illusory Rift back online, once they get that Inflame back online, it almost seals the deal for a defense.
Yeah, suppose healers charge their ultimates quickly anyway. When you got 5 of them, it's going to be a little bit faster. And a Cursed Arm trying to plug some shots down onto Hero, but G-Bunny is there to peel for his healer, I guess. And Overpower over onto Shadow's going to toss the Inara off the map. This could be it. Sanguine rolling the payload forward. And they're going to take map number 1. Potentially the Be Gone doesn't connect. Rock Monkey goes down. But now you're throwing bodies on the pile, and Sanguine are happy with that. They take map number 1.
I think, unfortunately, it's the opposite of the case. You know, Project brought a standard draft into that kind of composition that District 69 played in the first map for Brightmarsh, and they got rolled by what District 69 were able to bring. Unfortunately for them, Sanguine, it's not an easy team to roll. They are very solid, and I think triple DPS, again, a ton of comfort picks that come into this as well. It was just solid for them from the beginning, and I think what we're going to end up seeing is Wadu slowly but surely claw back his con win rate as best he can.
And remember, when we saw these two teams play, this is largely how the individual games win. It went all 5, but the games were 4-0s, 4-1s. When one of the two teams is winning, they do it pretty convincingly, and it's Sanguine who strike first in the single best-of-5 grand finals. We'll go back to the desk to break down game number 1.
Thank you, Dave and Gore. The 5 supports, well, 4 supports and a healer or a tank does not do quite as well as the 5 supports did for District 69. Kresnik, the composition that time did not work, and it was just as you were worried about. Cool got to stay in the back and just click heads without a whole lot of pressure on him.
Yeah, they couldn't get into him if they wanted to because of the Bomb King in the way. They have to use their healing to burst through a choke point. Everyone's getting cleaved for like 900 damage. It's caught 2. 50% of that healing that you're relying on isn't there. They have no fallback when you commit so hard onto a strategy like that.
And it was a pretty easy win for Sanguine after the fact. I mean, the front lining there from the Khan was solid. Baller Steve on that IO was fantastic on keeping up his low health carries when he needed to. And from there, it was kind of easy mode, it felt like. I mean, Poison was killing it on the Bomb King. Sanguine just firing on all cylinders. But as Dave mentioned, this is kind of how their last showdown went. These teams tend to snowball on one another for one reason or another.
And Project can maybe stop that snowball if they get rid of the comfort picks from Sanguine. That was a problem that Projects have had for a long time. They ban what they think is what Sanguine rely on, and they ignore the Khan, the IO, and these other picks. If they're willing to strike at those players and force them into characters that maybe don't allow the draft to do quite as much, I could see them doing better. But I mean, look at when they get characters like this. Yes, Wadu died more than most of his team, but he still bought a lot of time. The CC was so useful, able to get caught 3 pretty quickly. And Steve, 23 assists. He's a part of every single kill in that game, more or less.
That's incredible. I mean, 12 and 3 there for Cool, 13 kills for Poison, both hitting the 89,000 damage mark. That's going to get the job done more often than not. Even Baller Steve contributing a decent amount of damage with a 25k himself. So now if you're Team Project, you tried the weird option. You tried to do what D69 kind of showed you could work. Now, maybe you return to those more traditional drafts.
Yeah, they're like, that's not our style. We gave it an attempt, but definitely not anymore. I expect to see Project hopefully go back to something that they're more comfortable with while also hitting Sanguine where they're comfortable. That's how you have to win this, I think. They have a lot of flexibility on Project, I feel. Maybe Bunny will struggle if you have to put him onto a DPS, but keep him on a tank, maybe move Hero to a support, and shift whatever you have to counter Sanguine and not give them what has been winning them every single game.
Well, Stone Keep, you said, is a great map for Sanguine. They've looked really good on it. Now it's time to see if they can match that type of performance on Serpent Beach. Now, it is worth noting that this is, would this be Project's map pick here, Kresnik? Because they lost on Serpent Beach against D69.
This has got to be their map pick, because Sanguine for sure picked Stone Keep. If Project picked Stone Keep into Sanguine, I'd be surprised. Sanguine have looked so dominant on that map. So Team Project with the first pick, we can safely assume, I think this is their map. And this means they can take away that IO. They don't necessarily have to ban it out. They can take it for themselves and abuse that point time that they can get for free while a fight's going on.
Well, Talus has been a consistent ban by Team Project throughout the losers finals and now the grand finals, something to be worth noting at least, as Eevee banned by Sanguine, another champion that's been banned quite a bit. And now you're looking at Grover, who's kind of taken over as a ban for a lot of teams. Vivian has been another consistent ban here from Project. Feels like Project should be able to get a healer they prioritize, whether it be Grover or Io here.
Yeah, no matter what, they'll get one of the two that they like. I know Sanguine's been trying to take it away from Cuss. It does seem comfortable for them, and with it open, they could take it here. Io's off the table, but they could also go for Khan. They could go for the Victor, which remains a couple choices that will hurt Sanguine and won't hurt them. Andra could be one of them too. We've seen Poison do a ton on this pick, and Serpent Beach is one of his best maps. That verticality, ability to poke from the far side. He can bring a lot to the table on Serpent Beach.
So it's first pick Androxus, which means Victor is still open. And I got to say, Kresnik, just coming in, being an observer during this weekend, I feel like Victor always delivers on what you want from this character.
Yeah.
I mean, he's always doing so much damage. It's so consistent. I don't feel like you're ever giving anything up by going Victor early on in the draft. And to see Sanguine get both Victor and Grover here, I feel like they're setting themselves up for a great draft.
100%. And that Victor is going to be so hard to kill. If that Androxus goes in, not only is Victor getting 40% of his damage returned as lifesteal, he's getting this constant passive healing from the Grover, plus the burst, plus the CC potential. Project with the Andro and Buck, this is a draft that can dive the Vic, but we know they're going to pick the right fights, whether it's Cool or Gogurt playing it. They're going to leave a fight before it gets bad. And I guess Project know that because they're picking a lot of flankers to chase him down.
Yeah, this looks exactly like what D69 picked on this exact map against Project in the losers finals. This all flank sort of option. Drogoz was a part of that draft though for D69, and it felt like a pretty important one to bring that extra blaster damage and some good long range poke. So that's something to watch out for. But Sanguine, again, they're staying at home. They're not worrying too much. I felt like Project were often trying to pick things to counter what the opposition was doing on D69. It was the Torvald against this particular composition. It was the Tyra against the 5 supports. I kind of like Sanguine's strategy of, we're just going to play our game and we'll just beat you anyways.
They shifted slightly, though. They have the double support. One of them is moving towards that Genos. That extra healing, that extra damage boost can help the Victor trade even better. More damage means more lifesteal, and he's going to drain your health bar faster, so making that Victor even stronger, plus Khan to peel for him potentially. There's a lot of ways they can stop a flank dive between all the CC they have, plus they're all going to be walking in an open sightline to a Victor.
Yeah, it's going to be difficult, I think, as Bomb King is the blaster of choice here for Project, not the Drogoz that D69 had, and there will be a support in this draft for Team Project in that Corvus. Do you like the change of pace from... They've kind of adopted these two D69 drafts that beat them and put their own spin on them. It did not work in game number 1. Do you think that this adjustment is better here in game number 2?
I think Corvus is a good choice for this, as long as it's Corvus playing with the Bomb King, so we can have a constant heal target. Mark up 2 of the flankers, switch them up to Bomb King if you need to pocket one person in particular, and you can keep your team up when they wouldn't otherwise. It's something they kind of needed, because the amount of sustain on the other side is unreal so far. Depending on what they end with, if it's a survivable flanker, then they absolutely needed that little burst of healing to get through.
Well, it's going to be Cassie, someone pretty mobile in her own right, but might find it difficult to survive through all this backline dive here from Project. I just feel like I'm surprised that Project is going with something this risky, at least on paper, in a game that feels like a near must-win. I mean, you do not want to go down 2-0 against a team that hasn't lost a set yet.
Yeah, it's risky for sure, but it's a map where verticality can win games. All those characters can go up. We saw how it worked for D69, but they had a little bit more damage. Is that what made it work? Project is hoping that wasn't the key to turn it against them.
We'll see if that is the key here for Project, or if they've gotten enough damage of their own right. Has Sanguine drafted enough healing between the Genos and the Grover to find their Game 2 victory and put themselves just one game away from winning the Summer Finals?
Team Project continuing with the interesting compositions here. Gormizer, will it pay off on Serpent Beach? Well, it remains to be seen. I agree with what the desk is saying, though. They take something that we saw in our previous set, adapt it a little bit. This time it's adding in Corvus for a little extra healing.
It's the adaptation that I'm a little unsure of, though, when it comes down to it. I think the reason Drogo's worked well was because this is a good map for Drogo's, right? The reason that you were able to see them find success was because they also had Eevee, someone who functions functionally well on this map as it is. I feel like they've maybe taken away enough here on the side of Sanguine to make sure that Team Project can try to replicate what D69 did, but I mean, even then it was a 3-3. I just don't know if it's going to have enough punch to really break through.
Remember, you have a Luminary boost on Sanguine's side as well, so you have 3 DPS plus some extra damage on top of it. Might even up the scales just a little bit. Rock Monkey is able to pepper down Cool for the first kill of the game for Team Project, but Sanguine has answered back with 2 of their own. It's 27% for the red side on the point already. A couple respawns back from Project are going to put them within range. Just Buck backing out. Baller Steve throwing some good long-range axes here. Rock Monkey thinks he's found a free route into the backline here, but enough peel and damage from Baller Steve is going to put down the Koga once more, and Sanguine, they haven't really been moved just yet.
Not at all, and honestly, it's the wherewithal. Gogurt being the one that's on this Genos right now. Very good hit scan. We've seen the damage he could do a little bit earlier, but giving Baller Steve the Grover, I think, is actually more essential than what you would have thought, just because of the fact that he's making a lot of these little clutch heals. You know, granted, it's pretty easy, I would say, to make sure people are in it, but he's in the right position, staying safe himself, getting good damage out there, and it's been these little 1v1s, like you said. Rock Monkey gets to the backline, and it looks like he could do something, and Baller Steve is there just to make sure that you're going to need about 3 more clips to make this work out successfully, and that's happening every time, even right there, making sure Poison can stay alive through the engagement.
Yeah, man, this is a great angle to be watching. Baller Steve, a big root on a G-Bunny, keeping his team alive as they're able to regain control of the fight and push the payload forward, and that's the area that's difficult to break. When the enemy team has that free high ground, that's where you see these Serpent Beach games really stall out. Well-timed whirlwind from Baller Steve delays the backline dive once more. Rock Monkey rooted down, taken down by Poison. It's Cuss Cutie who trades out 1 kill of his own. 1-for-1 trade. Respawn advantage, though, definitely for Team Project, just a little bit closer here. You have lost your whirlwind, though, Gormizer. Could be a big difference maker.
I think it's not going to end up hurting you as much as they would like on the other side. Still a lot of good healing, and honestly, Grover counters this composition. It's the one thing Sanguine have that I think is going to make it so much easier for them, because if he bounces a Deep Roots axe onto anyone, well, that stops Buck from jumping away, Andrew from dashing away, Bomb King from bouncing away, Koga from dashing away. Like, he just locks them up so well here that Team Project are going to end up feeling that one 8 ways to Sunday.
Well, it's a missed con ultimate, but at what cost here? Baller Steve somehow stays alive yet again. King Bomb searching for a target. Cuss Cutie unable to find it, but now there's a Bomb King in the backline here if you're Sanguine, but what do you care if the payload is inching its way forward anyway? Sanguine have now won 6 straight points, 2 of them here on Serpent Beach.
And they're doing something on the desk. I had kind of said and was alluding earlier that Team Project, theoretically, against a composition much like the one that they're running, when they, you know, you bring in a tank, you bring in a healer, you play something more standard into a comp like this, you should win out of the merit purely that you have objective control. Like, that's it. You have objective control. There's no qualifier to it. You just automatically have more potency around payloads and point fights than the other team is going to. For Project to win this, they have to win a fight and a half, and granted they do have comeback mechanic here, so that is going to make a pretty big difference for them. But you have to be able to eradicate Sanguine, and so far you've been having trouble even getting just 3 kills, let alone trying to get rid of the team.
It's a good stun. Poison unable to follow up on the damage. First kill over to Shadow, but immediately answered back by Wadu on the con. Root down onto Rock Monkey. How many times have we seen that story? The Koga searching for something in the backline, but heavily mitigated by the lockdown that Sanguine is able to provide. Rock Monkey now goes down as G-Bunny and Gogurt left alone in the back, a Void Grip will certainly see to the end of this buck eventually. It's Poison who puts the final nail in that coffin, and Sanguine yet again, Gormizer, have gained control of the mid-fight.
And that's such a big stagger on the G-Bunny as well. This is another team comp that really only works if you have everyone available for it to have an all-out assault, and you're staggered out. Now your Bomb King staggered out. You don't have a Blaster. Now Hero's even further beyond that. This is just, honestly, at this point, it's Sanguine's game to lose with how well they're playing.
I'm not sure we're even going to get to a point where Project have a chance to fight back. It is point number 3 for Sanguine, 5.5 minutes in to Serpent Beach. The North American first seed has dropped some maps, but no sets yet this weekend. Looks like this, or the map perfection at least, looking like it might continue here on Serpent Beach, pending a big comeback from Team Project. Shadow and Cuscutie are going to combine for a couple of kills here. That's going to set Sanguine's plans back just a little bit longer, but no worries for Baller Steve, except maybe protecting this 17 streak of his. You start to look at the ultimates, though, they're going to be swinging back and forth here. Gormizer, Baller Steve finally taken down, notably the overpower that's not connecting here. That would have been a big tool that Sanguine were able to use to get this payload moving.
Yeah, it would have gotten you back much easier, especially with Poison getting a double kill right there. After you have one clean kill coming out from the con as well, it would have made it well. And yeah, Gogurt, I think, showcasing another reason Genos can work well into this. And this is actually more in vain, right? I was talking earlier about how we've seen Binary Star Genos in the past and how it's looked pretty solid. But console guys were the ones who ran it first, and console guys are the ones that actually made it look good, and I think that's the case here. Plus, 2,400 damage on his ult. Guess what? That kills every single member of Project if he can catch him in there. So Gogurt has that one-shot potential built into his kit right now. Just needs to charge it back up.
Shadow has been pivotal, where the Koga's maybe fallen short. The Andraxis has been there to finish off some kills. Cuscutie opening things up once more with a kill from the Bomb King on the backside of this fight. Baller Steve moving forward to try to peel Rock Monkey away from his carries. Hasn't failed at doing so yet, and gonna continue to work out here. Hero has pulled back one, and that's on to Wadu, so the solo tank for Sanguine no longer in the fray, at least for the next 10 or so seconds while he's back and respawning. Cuscutie down onto the ground, a little bit overextended, and Corvus ultimate will be dropped down over onto the payload. This is where you have to be careful, though, if you're Sanguine, waiting for your pieces to kind of reconnect and not overstay.
Yeah, they're trying to stay around this, and honestly, I will give this to Sanguine. Beautifully positioned so far around Baller Steve. It is something insane to see, because most of the time Grover is going to be feeling the brunt of it. His range isn't infinite, but now this Whirlwind's going to make it even easier for him.
In the overpower, Rock Monkey, Cuscutie, Shadow, they're all down, and through time and space just to peel off the payload. This one's going in. Sanguine have won 8 straight points, 2 straight maps. Gore, we're 15 minutes into this set, and Sanguine are 1 game away from lifting the crown here in the PPC Summer Finals.
I mean, yesterday we saw, and the day before, we've seen what can happen if even when you do push Sanguine to the limit. They closed out most of their maps in 4-0s. It was just, hey, you were able to get a 4-0 back. But if you can't stall them, you can't slow them down, then you're not going to stop them, and you're definitely not going to be able to take a map off them. This is a team that has been grinding incredibly hard. You can tell that they're taking this set seriously, and much like the desk has been pointing out, they're playing nothing but comfort picks. They are happy right now in this set.
I loved what we saw out of Baller Steve this game, and I loved the addition of the Genos as well, the Binary Star, a little extra damage, so wasn't the massive damage boost that we're used to seeing, but a little extra healing keeps the quad DPS at bay this time around. Sanguine, they go back-to-back, 1 game away from taking the Summer Finals crown. We'll go back to Ryan, though, to break down game number 2.
Man, if you thought that you could afford to get up and grab a snack or something like that, it's the beginning of Grand Finals. Sanguine's gone 5 games against everybody they played against. We know it's going to be a long one. Well, you might have missed 2 games already where Sanguine has now clean swept back-to-back games up against Team Project. I mean, Kresnik, I know Project's gone with some risky compositions here, some different looks, but I just don't know that that's really the whole story. It feels like Sanguine is just outplaying them right now.
I'm just surprised they're trying to rely on this after how they did yesterday. It was so close with them both kind of playing their comforts. Project played what they wanted, Sanguine played what they wanted, and it was still to the wire. I guess after playing D69, after losing, they're like, maybe there's merit, but I feel like finals against a team that you have not the best blood with is not the place to be pulling out these comps that you have not had the time on.
Yeah, I think it's pretty clear that they haven't had that time on it, but it's equally clear that Sanguine looks as comfortable as ever. I think Dave was completely correct to point out Baller Steve on this Grover, man. What a performance from him.
Yeah, having the Grover AoE healing, if you're just getting chipped away by someone trying to engage, it's so hard to burst through the Grover healing. He's there, he has the CC as well, which makes it very hard for anyone to actually want to get aggressive. Let's say Bunny jumps in, tries to engage, suddenly he's rooted, you're getting hit by a Cassie Blast Shot combo, or you're just getting Genosalted off of that too. So many ways to set up off of like a 6-second cooldown.
Yeah, it was really impressive here from Sanguine across the board. The small adjustment they made to bring in the Genos to try and handle all this extra damage that they were going to be seeing in this game. Feels like Sanguine is in complete control, and they haven't done anything super far out of their comfort zone. I mean, that's got to be a huge advantage. By the way, 13-1 for Gogurt on that Genos pick. Yeah, that's pretty good. 15-4 for Poison. I mean, it just feels like Sanguine hasn't shown anything crazy. You assume they've got something still in the back pocket if they need it, but it certainly doesn't look like they will at this rate.
I mean, this was part of what could be in the back pocket, the binary star Genos against the high flank team. Having that relativity 5 in the kit, having Penumbra 5 in the kit, it's 35% lifesteal and 200 health per second constantly being applied to Gogurt. It's why he got away with that 13-1. Anytime someone dove him, he was getting so much self-sustain, just like Dredge, except he also can be healing his team and has one of the best setup ults they had.
Yeah, it's pretty easy for him whenever he's playing that well. So now we go to Ice Mines, a map where, it is worth noting, Team Project dominated District 69 just a little bit ago. That was the 4th game of that set. They 4-0'd on that map. So maybe something there for Team Project to try and get some momentum back.
Yeah, and it's a map that can go long if they think they can win more in the late game. They can slow down Sanguine's momentum at the very least, but we've also seen Sanguine just dominate on this map, and it's another one that I think is going to come down to draft. You can win or lose so easily on Ice Mines in the picks and bans, and I think Project do have to target Sanguine a little bit harder. I get that they're banning the Vivian and the Talus, but Sanguine have shown proficiency on so many other champions that are around that. They could pick a BK into this Talus or a Cassie or a Grover, these characters that I think perform excellently into them. But instead, again, they just take it off the table. They don't want to have to draft around it.
Yeah, they really don't want to deal with it, especially when Sanguine just showed you how good their Genos can be. Do you really want to give the peanut butter to that jelly of that ultimate, right? So now you got to put yourself in a position where you're still down kind of a ban, in a way, as Eevee taken away by Sanguine. It has been Vivian here every single time for Project, and that trend continues. So now Sanguine in a similar position to last game, where you have to ban either Io or Grover, or you could leave them both open and at least snag one for yourself.
Yeah, now Io going down. Grover's not as high priority on this map, I would say. It's still good, but it's definitely not a first pick Grover. Yeah, we just won the draft. I think a tank could even go there instead, but Project want to keep to their comfort. They saw how good Steve did last game on it. They want to have those AoE heals, have that CC, and it might be something that can stem Sanguine's aggression a little bit. One root on the flank, especially if you catch someone during a mobility cooldown, can hurt things a lot. And Bomb King, though, is a character that I would say is not going to be affected by that very much.
Yeah, Bomb King, exactly what you want to see here. I think if you're rooting for Sanguine, it's just such a high priority pick on Ice Mines in particular. And that, in conjunction with the con, is Sanguine, what do you know, sticking at home and going back to those comfort picks.
If you don't lose with it, don't stop picking it. No reason to. This con has been excellent for them on solo tank. A lot of defensive cooldowns that the rest of Wadu's team is able to help him get the most out of. He shields, he shouts, he backs up, and while they're saying, oh, this con doesn't have anything left, let's go, 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 that's when the rest of them are cleaning up on it. But I think Project have a good follow-up there. Victor, the third controller carry champion, that is what they're labeling it, as off the table in their hands. And Terminus is great on Ice Mines, especially into Bomb King. Shut down a lane, make it so much harder for that Con and BK to push you as long as you keep your distance.
I mean, Project get two of the highest priority picks, it feels like, on Ice Mines and Victor and Terminus. But Sanguine not going to let that Con solo tank this time. They'll lock in the Inara, and now a Ying pickup. Ying continues to have a meteoric rise in value as we've gotten later on in this tournament.
This is actually a great pick for Ying as a solo support here. Ying on Ice Mines can dismount the enemy through the gates as you roll out, so having a hit scan support instead of that Grover, they can actually get everybody knocked down instead of maybe the one person the Axe manages to hit. I like Project picking up Pip here. Evil Mojo, one of the best ultimates in the game. Put it on Pip. He's also a blaster, has that AoE control. And Damba there for a third support. The CC, it can go over the con shield. If they catch a Nara with her DR down, they could potentially burn her from 100 to 0 with the comp that they have.
Interesting to go 3 support here for Project, but it feels a little bit more cohesive, I would say, than some of the drafts that we've seen from them so far in the Grand Finals. And a last pick Tyra. What do you make of that one, Kresnik?
It's got the built-in Cauterize and the Firebomb, or you can run the Mercy Kill instead to stop from getting Dove. I would say you expect Burn Monster. Throw it on the side. They can't really dive you as quickly, and you have that space control, which is oh so valuable on ice.
It's going to be fun to watch. Sanguine looking to try and have the best performance we've probably ever seen in a Grand Finals. They are just 4 rounds away, and if they get them consecutively, to not drop a round in the Grand Finals would be unbelievable. Do you think they wrap it up here, Chris?
I think they can with the draft that they have. I'm just curious to see them actually playing double tank for once. Who's going to be on Inara and who's going to be on Khan?
Don't have to wait long to find out. Sanguine looking to be our victors at the Summer Finals. They just have one more map to go. Will it be Ice Mines?
Time and changing up what has literally worked from them from qualifying day 1 into the PPC through 8 straight points in the Grand Final into what could be the final game in the Grand Final. It is not triple DPS for the first time that I can remember. It is, well, potentially, I guess, technically could be, depending on talent choices here. But what do you make of this this final pivot here, Gore, for Sanguine?
Honestly, I don't mind it just because I realize it's Gogurt that's going to be on that con. So we all know that he's playing Fat Victor, not Khan. We know exactly how this playstyle is going to go for him. I think the Tire is an interesting pickup. I'm excited to see how it does shake out because much like this, you put the Firebomb in the right spot, you control the spreading with Inara's wall, and you make it very difficult for Project to showcase what I would argue is not only their best draft of this set, maybe the best draft they've had today, save for the one they had on Stone Keep against D69. And I mean, it fits well for Ice Mines, but you're corralling it perfectly.
Ooh, nice. I like this combination here. Gogurt stuns down Shadow, and Cool is there to finish off some of the damage. Immediately, Team Project pushed back. Only 1 kill to be found so far for Sanguine. The Firebomb has done wonders so far in controlling where Team Project can move, and I imagine this one will as well. Gonna burn down Corral Project off to the right, and that's when Sanguine move themselves forward to look for some damage. 81% now on the point of Shadow has rejoined the fray of this fight. 93% looking for a touch now is Team Project, but G-Bunny not in time. The Firebomb is there to confirm a little bit of damage. Rock Monkey with a barrage is going to plug away some of his own, but it's point number 1 when it's all said and done. Over to Sanguine.
That's just a triple kill for Cool. He's a little low right now, which is going to cause some trouble for him, so Hero does get the kill, but I think, I mean, being able to start it off like that, maybe a good clap back here from Project to slow this down. It's probably one of the strongest ways to control the payload push at this point in the game. And that, Dave, that was just unfortunate.
Yeah, you're thinking you've got yourself a free kill, but enough Ying sustain is going to keep that chicken, as squishy it might be, alive. And now that could be a big difference maker. Gogurt would have really pushed down on the gas had that overpower connected, but unfortunately not. Shadow does now go down to Poison. In the meantime, the onslaught is here. Good roots down, though, onto Sanguine to kind of keep them at bay. This is where the pace can really pick up, though, especially when Poison is going to find a moment to get aggressive on this Bomb King.
I got to say it yesterday, Dave, and I can feel it again, but this was one of the OG pro Bomb King picks, is Poison, being able to bring it. He's made it look good for years now, and being able to put him on a comfortable map for Bomb King with a comfortable player on him, it's just going to make it so much more difficult. Hero uses the reanimate there, and I wouldn't be surprised to see it maybe come back and bite them with Poison's positioning.
That's a Dread Serpent used by Cuscuti, and that will give some space to Team Project to move out of their base. Nice cleave shots there from Sanguine, or from Team Project, rather. It's Shadow who's doing most of the damage here, and that's going to be the full-on stagger onto Wadu, who's here on this Inara. And that was a backs against the wall moment there, Gore. Couldn't have come a moment sooner for Team Project. The Dread Serpent used, Reanimate was used just a few moments ago as well. You look at Sanguine now with 30 seconds left, and you wonder maybe what they're comfortable spending ultimate-wise to give themselves a chance.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to invest too heavily into this. Overpowers is 65, 70% there for the Seismic Crash. But like, if you want to use King Bomb, maybe it opens it back up. But you've got 50 seconds and it's Ice Mines. Yeah, the perfect score is pretty nice, and I think being able to get a 4-0 here and just completely 12-0 clean sweep the finals would be sick, but I don't know if it's worth investing the risk.
And it is not going to happen here. It is a barrage spent by Project defensively to get the kill over onto Cool, and that was essentially all she wrote for that defensive stand. Looked for a moment there like Sanguine was going to be able to push through, but a good defense from Project saw to it that the red side was stalled out. Rock Monkey, needs to be pivotal, I think, here, especially when you look at the draft that Team Project have built. It's a lot of sustain around him. Shadow, obviously, is going to be able to provide some good extra damage. Moxie was massive back in the PPL days. Slightly less numbers, I suppose, on that card nowadays, but the 1-2 punch of Shadow and Rock Monkey going to be super important here to give Project a chance in the mid-fight.
Especially that Evil Mojo. It's not all the time you're going to see a chicken get clutch healing at the last second to make sure they walk away. So I think Baller Steve, even though he has that illusory rift, is going to have his work cut out for him here if Shadow gets a very solid ult. But they have to be just as wary. Kind of in return, Poison can just as easily change things right back in their favor.
That's the Evil Mojo you're looking for if your Team Project starts off with a kill onto the healthiest target there is. Crossfire from Cool is going to get some good damage, but it's Rock Monkey instead that runs down Baller Steve. Overpower onto Shadow, so it looks like Gogurt not ready to give this one up just yet. Keep themselves in contest range. Cool finishes off a kill onto Hero as well. The rest of Team Project have left thinking this fight is over, but it's the two last members of Sanguine that are now controlling the point.
And now, if you're a Project, you're in the worst spot imaginable, because yeah, maybe you're getting some nice dismounts, maybe you can get a good stun, you might even kill Poison here. But what are you fighting back into? Oh yeah, 75 and rising percent on the point, a nice wall from Wadu. Wow. Your team is isolated from you. They bit off more than they can chew.
Hero was looking for a Shatterfall there, but Wadu had different ideas. It's a barrage that's not enough for Rock Monkey. Sanguine in control of this mid. Now right back in control of this game. A chance to push a fully staggered out Team Project, and that all goes wrong with an overextension on the defense, thinking that, it's just a Khan and a Tyra. We can win that fight.
That's, I think, again, it comes down to Sanguine just playing, I think, better than people were going to give them credit for, and Project kind of underestimate those two alone, but it's Gogurt and it's Cool. You cannot leave those two alone without them making some insane play. They do it consistently, and, well, hey, they do it again. Separate you from your team, they lock it down. Losing that objective, honestly, I think hurts more than losing the first two maps, because it was yours. You had so much on that, and even now, they're showcasing that same amount of control from Project here on this payload defense.
We're able to get a few picks there. Cool. Was looking for maybe a leap down, a behind-the-back shot there, but unfortunately was sniffed out just waiting around the corner. Not quite as pushed or swept back, maybe, as they were last time around. Sanguine at least fully reinforced. And it's weird to think about, but already, Gore, with like a minute and a half left in this one, it sort of feels like it kind of just comes down to one final push here for Sanguine, especially if Wadu is unable to stay alive. That's a big loss.
Yeah, no, it's I like to call it the Ice Mines effect. You're a minute and a half in, the payload's, I guess, a third of the way, maybe. And, well, hey, I'm already thinking of the next mid-fight, and because that's just what you're going to experience. Yes, we have seen teams push it in a minute. We've seen teams take it in entirety in overtime. But the way Project are playing right now, they're definitely not going to let that happen. I think Sanguine's best bet is to just try and pull some of those ults out. Maybe force Hero to be a little more uncomfortable than you'd like. Force the Reanimate, get at the Dread Serpent. If you can get rid of 2 or 3 of Project's ultimates, then you give yourself that next mid-fight with such a heavy advantage that you can start thinking a little bit easier and maybe more about how you're going to brag about being first place as opposed to still getting to first place.
Where we stand now, 5 ultimates all ready to go, but Shadow uses the Evil Mojo. Only able to find one before trading out his life. Big moments here Some good roots down from G-Bunny, and Cuskcutie finishes off the kill onto Wadu, but another checkerboard back as Poison gets rid of the victor. It's a whirlwind spent now by G-Bunny, and it is enough to save the life of Hero just for the time being. Back into the corner is Gogurt, and sort of what you were thinking, Gore, comes to fruition here. You spend the whirlwind, you spend the Evil Mojo, granted both, somewhat quickly charging ultimates, but moving towards a mid-fight, those are both now missing. Still a chance to contest here in overtime, depending on what both teams want to spend. With Poison going down, looking a lot less likely for Sanguine.
Yeah, the longer it goes in overtime, honestly, the worse it is for Sanguine. You had mentioned the fact that they use 2 ults. Well, look at that Evil Mojo now. It's at 85, 91, 93%.
Yeah, that's
because
quick.
of the morale boost that he has. And, Shadow being able to pick it up that quickly, guess what? That means you're fighting into 4 ults. Granted, you maintain all of yours. You still have a modicum of control here if you are Sanguine. This is how you take the fight. Hero having his ult is definitely going to be a thorn in the side, but you can't reanimate from getting tossed off the edge of the map. A lot of pressure, I think, onto Gogurt to connect onto the right target, get the right kill at the right time. Maybe the stars have to align for him, but we've seen what he can do on Khan, so I'm not counting him out just yet. It is just a lot of pressure to make this work, especially with the amount of morale boost that's on the other side. You know that G-Bunny, Shadow, their ults are going to come back incredibly quickly. Victor already charges Barrage fast, so even when you do get rid of him here as Sanguine, you're still kind of threatened by those ults before the point fight actually ends.
Right, make no mistake, it's a calculated usage of a couple ultimates there for Project just to make sure Sanguine couldn't push forward. This time, the Overpower does connect, and Pip, despite having the Evil Mojo now back off cooldown, won't have the chance to use it. Hero down, Reanimate used, back into the corner. King Bomb could be used for immediate follow-up, and Hero dies twice in the span of a couple of seconds. No follow-up there on the back of the Reanimate, and Sanguine have found a fight I think they'll be happy with.
If you're going to use the Overpower to throw off Pip, or to kill Pip, I should say, that's the way the Terminus has to go down. He has to ult and immediately regret being alive again, and that's exactly what Sanguine do. They make him regret it as much as he can as a Terminus. Still an Evil Mojo, gets thrown out, but I don't know if they have the follow-up to make anything work with it.
They sure don't. Cool, though, has some follow-up here for Sanguine. It's a double kill for the Tyro. Wadu has done a good job of zoning out back into this side room here. A Whirlwind and a Barrage is going to try to soften up some of the front line that Sanguine have now onto the point. It's a stun down, and Wadu Peckington will finish off the kill. G-Bunny off to the side as well, and Sanguine move themselves 1 point away from winning the Summer Finals.
Look, over the last, 8 games total, we've seen Team Project play a really solid kind of TDM meta, right? They've been winning a lot of good fights. And even here, in this game, they're winning a lot of great fights. But they're losing at Paladins, which is going to be all objective-based control. It has been all in favor of Sanguine. Even that last point where they had a lot of control was Sanguine's point to control. So I think it's the fact that they are just maybe a little too loose around the objective, letting Sanguine get too far ahead before moving in again. They've just been tripped up, and they haven't been able to play this comp to its max potential.
Boy, this is brutal. There's a kind of complete split for Project right now. Shadow hanging out somewhere behind the Sanguine roster, waiting for his moment to jump in. Does not have the Evil Mojo, but do need to be mindful of a Pip lurking somewhere in behind. But Sanguine can choose to take the fight elsewhere on the front line. It's an Overpower onto Shadow. Hero is down as well. Double kill for Cool. Looking to roll this card in. Down goes G-Bunny. Wadu is there, and Sanguine finish off the phase on top of the Paladins world.
And after 10 games total coming into today, I was expecting them to have such a difficult time, but it seems like that set yesterday gave them all the insight they needed into what Team Project was going to be. I think well-earned, well-deserved for a team that plays and grinds as much as they do for Sanguine here. They came into Ice Mines with a plan, and they executed it, man.
Sanguine are your PPC Summer Finals champions, and it is well-deserved. The writing has been on the wall for these guys since week 5, I think, when they last lost to Project, but then have dominated the North American scene. And now this tournament since then. Without some boat here losing, or didn't grab a few, but here in the Sanguine, so that's Ryan to round out the deck.
Well, congratulations to Sanguine. They are unequivocally the best Paladins team on the planet as of today. They are your victors for the summer finals. And Kresnik, it couldn't have been much more convincing than that. 4-0, 4-0. They go 4-2 on Ice Mines, but every single point fight was an absolute blowout.
Yeah, they knew exactly how to answer anything that Project was trying to do. Evil Mojo's going to be important this fight. Oh, we'll just pull Pip and we'll use him to farm our ult charge. I think they just had all the answers to Project, just very, very hard in a somewhat even matchup to get anything other than a couple defensive points on ice.
It was impressive from them. I mean, they played a bunch of different things, but seemed to also be able to stay at home at the same time. I feel like the conversation should really be centered around how Sanguine stuck to their identity, even in the face of all these weird things Project threw at them.
And I think that's smart if they're comfortable playing that against anything, because everyone, since Sanguine has been triple deeps at the start of the season, everyone's trying to figure out a way to beat them. They think, oh, this new team, there must be a fluke. How are they going to do it? And time again, they just keep pulling out different things while still keeping similar to what they like. People are trying triple DPS, they're trying triple tank, anything to nullify the effectiveness of what they're doing, and nothing's working. It's so smart of them to just stick with this because they've already played it against everything.
And Sanguine walk away as the #1 team in Paladins after this summer finals. The #1 seed coming out of North America, I think a lot of people were talking about whether or not it was really Sanguine as the best team in NA or this Team Project squad. Don't think there are many questions now, though.
Yeah, for sure. I think you could say that it could be contested. Yesterday, the game was so close between them, but Sanguine just had time to react. Project thought they had to pull out something different to really take that advantage, and across all the maps, it just did not work. And Sanguine, you can see, Poison actually had a tougher game. I think that has to do with going into Bomb King, but Cool just so enabled the burn monster, being able to throw it down and be protected, I think helped them significantly and put them just below Rock Monkey on the damage charts.
98k, certainly nothing to shake a stick at. How about the 138,000 healing coming from Baller Steve as well? I think Steve had a phenomenal set here on 3 different selections. I believe it was the IO game 1, the Grover game 2, and now the Ying in game number 3.
I think Steve's had a fantastic tournament in general. He also, to me, was one of the standouts on Corvus when he was pre-placing his projection, doing a lot of things that some of the other Corvus players weren't really thinking about. So having him on everything, always been, I think, a phenomenal support, and I'm glad he's on a team that can really highlight him and let him prove that game after game after game.
I mean, that was an incredible showing from Sanguine. They make it to the grand finals and they sweep Team Project. Semifinals, they had to go 3-2 over D69, 3-2 over Project in the upper finals, and then ultimately with that 3-0. So it is the 2 NA teams who stood alone at the very end, but Sanguine clearly the squad to beat right now. Any surprises overall from the weekend, though, Kresnik? Maybe meta or the results that we saw?
I'm surprised there wasn't as much Corvus, I think, for me. I thought he would be a much bigger, prominent champion, and I think as people get more time with him, as we go into the relegations in the coming weeks, we'll see him picked up a lot more by these players who are, during this tournament, the ones who weren't in it, they're going to be grinding. They're going to be practicing him, and they're going to be either fighting to keep their spot in the PPC or fighting to take it away from them.
Well, hopefully we'll have some great games to watch then as well. I want to thank everyone who tuned in at any point during the weekend. We hope you enjoyed a fantastic summer final. From all of us on the casting team, myself, Gormizer, Dolson, Finch, Kresnik, Fawn, and all the production team who makes it all possible, thanks so much for watching the Pro Circuit Summer Finals, and we'll see you next time on The Realm. You can peach it.